Good morning. Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here with all of you, and I'm very grateful to JC and Congressman Pittenger and our hosts here for their gracious and kind invitation. So imagine it's 2028. Tensions have flared in the Taiwan Strait. Overnight, Chinese rare earth exports stop. Within hours, few days, every new F-35 rolling off the line is electronically blind. Patriot missile guidance systems go dark. Training runs for America's most advanced AI models just stop. I don't mean to be alarmist or dystopian, but I am here simply to address an issue that will very much shape the trajectory of global power and prosperity in the 21st century. The strategic importance of securing critical minerals. These resources, that's lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, and others, are fundamental to technological innovation, national defense, and economic competitiveness. Why? Because energy security is national security. The United States and the free world, they face a significant vulnerability. We rely much too heavily on foreign sources, particularly China, for so much of our rare earth elements and many other critical minerals. In fact, China refines, so people think it's just the fact that they have the ores. It's more than that. It's the fact that so much of the refining is done in China as well. Some of it used to be in other parts of the world, and that's shifted and might become much more concentrated in China. China refines 85% of the world's rare earths, 70% of its cobalt, and over 60% of its lithium. Beijing has already demonstrated its willingness to weaponize that dominance, sometimes cutting the free world off and quietly building stockpiles. This dependence poses serious risks to our sovereignty and the security and prosperity of the free world in many respects, and our long-term economic resilience. To address this challenge, in my respectful and humble opinion, the United States should adopt a new framework of economic statecraft, one built on 4 unbreakable, unshakable pillars, executed through relentless, strategic, productive alliances and deal-making. It should be the deliberate use of economic partnerships, trade agreements, and investment incentives to advance American and free world interests. We can call it the Liberty Minerals Doctrine if you want to. It will secure the free world's future through robust supply chains. Let's begin with why these materials are consequential. Critical minerals are not ordinary commodities. They are essential enablers of modern life itself. Lithium powers the batteries we need. Cobalt is vital for high-performance alloys used in aerospace and defense. Rare earth elements underpin precision-guided weapons, advanced electronics, and semiconductors that power AI. In short, without reliable access to these resources, our industries cannot innovate, our military cannot operate, and our economy cannot grow. They are quite literally the building blocks of our existence. The problem is straightforward. America and much of the free world are almost entirely import dependent for many critical minerals, some say 15 of them. China, meanwhile, controls the majority of global rare earths, and certainly the processing capacity, and a large share of lithium and cobalt refining. This dominance allows them to influence global supply chains and potentially use resource access to resource access as leverage, critical leverage, in times of geopolitical tension. In today's world, energy and minerals have become instruments of statecraft, much as oil was in the previous century. So first, we can diversify global supply chains. What does that mean? We must reduce our exposure to single-source suppliers by building robust partnerships with mineral-rich alloys, forging something of a democratic minerals alliance. These will not be loans that trap nations in debt, not debt trap diplomacy, not Belt and Road. They will be mutually profitable partnerships, American capital, American technology, American standards, in exchange for secure, long-term flows of critical minerals, where certain countries offer predatory terms and ecological devastation. We can offer transparency, local ownership, and permanent seat in this important economic bloc. Countries such as Australia, Canada, Chile, Argentina, Indonesia, and other select nations in Africa and Latin America hold abundant reserves of key materials. By negotiating mutually beneficial trade and investment agreements, encouraging private sector participation, this is why private-public partnerships are so important, and aligning regulatory frameworks, we can build reliable, diversified supply chains. These arrangements not only reduce our dependence on adversarial and rogue powers, but they also create new opportunities for economic competitiveness and shared growth. Next, strengthen domestic production and processing capacity. We possess substantial reserves of lithium, rare earths, and other critical minerals, yet much of this potential remains untapped. To change this, we could consider accelerating responsible, that's the key word, domestic extraction and processing through private-public partnerships and targeted incentives. An executive order issued in March of this year, EO 14241, provides something of a roadmap for expanding domestic production by leveraging deal-making to attract private capital, streamline permitting, and de-risk early-stage projects. We can enhance self-sufficiency, create high-quality jobs, and keep more of the value chain within our borders. In addition, we must invest critically in research and R&D to pioneer next-generation extraction and recycling technologies. The future of mineral security doesn't rest solely in new mines and ores. It also lies in innovation. That kind of processing breakthroughs can dramatically reduce dependence for us on raw imports. So institutions such as our national laboratories, the Geological Survey, might play a vital role in driving this innovation, and they could be supported in that regard. And there have been proposals of a one-stop federal accelerator and ironclad partnerships with various communities. We can build the refineries and separation plants that China still monopolizes right here on free soil. Every refinery we open is a permanent subtraction from Beijing's leverage and a permanent addition to American jobs and prosperity. Third, as suggested earlier, counter strategic competitors and rogue powers through coordinated alliances. China has spent decades building control over global mineral supply chains through investment, acquisition, and state-backed industrial policy. We could respond with a coalition-based approach, partnering with trusted allies to co-invest in mineral processing and advanced materials research. An allied critical minerals security initiative, potentially composed of these partners, could achieve some of these objectives. What does that look like? Co-investment funds, shared strategic stockpiles, joint R&D centers, ironclad and serious commitments never to sell strategic processing capacity to hostile actors and entities. Together, we represent some of these countries: Japan, South Korea, Germany, France, India, European Union, countries and entities. We represent 60% of global GDP, nearly all cutting-edge technology, and the moral authority of open societies, which really shouldn't be underestimated, and the free world. If we align our mineral strategies, no single authoritarian power can ever hold the world hostage again. Coordinated deals of this kind, when done thoughtfully with measure and nuance, not indiscriminately, arbitrarily, or without serious deliberation, can expand our collective capacity and reduce global dependence on any single supplier. This cooperation could extend to developing nations as well one day, where transparent and responsible investment can serve as an alternative to opaque state-backed models. In doing so, we not only compete, we lead by example. And finally, we can ensure efficiency and accountability in every agreement. Strategic deal-making must be guided by measurable outcomes, enhancing supply chain security, advancing technological innovation, and delivering tangible returns to the American people. This means prioritizing projects with the highest national security and economic value, it should go without saying, investing in workforce development, and supporting research in next-generation mineral extraction and processing technologies. Smart, targeted deals maximize taxpayer value, the American ROI, while strengthening the foundation of our industrial base. The urgency of this agenda is underscored by emerging trends. Global demand for critical minerals is accelerating rapidly, driven in part by AI. By 2030, data centers alone, it is projected, will consume 20% of US electricity, sharply increasing the need for batteries and energy storage. By 2030, global demand for lithium will quadruple, for demand for nickel will triple, and rare earths will drop, and the demand for rare earths will double, driven by AI alone, whose data centers will soon consume as much electricity as entire nations today. Without secure access to the necessary inputs, our aspirations for energy independence and technological leadership could be compromised. Opportunities here are enormous. Expanding domestic rare earth production will support defense readiness and revitalize American manufacturing, which has been a goal that we have been targeting for quite some time. Trade agreements with allied nations can open new markets for American companies, spur innovation, and enhance competitiveness by reducing our reliance on China and other concentrated suppliers. We can safeguard our economy from external disruptions and reinforce our position as the world's technological and industrial leader. Achieving this vision, it must be said, will require close coordination among government, industry, and international partners. During my service leading the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and before that as Assistant Secretary for Trade and Economic Security, we got to see how these templates can truly effloresce. The federal government could streamline permitting processes, align incentives, and provide policy certainty to attract long-term investment. And industry, for its part, could very well commit to innovation and responsible sourcing. And our diplomats might pursue agreements that advance American interests while reinforcing alliances based on shared values. Economic statecraft, executed through disciplined deal-making, allows us to act with certain amount of precision, focusing our efforts where they yield the greatest strategic return. And that's something that we have to be very careful about. Every dollar, every cent from the taxpayer is a sacred trust that government has. And government has a responsibility to make sure that the taxpayers are getting their appropriate return. This is about targeted, high-impact actions that deliver jobs, security, and prosperity for the American people. So in closing, it must be said that we stand at a defining moment. Critical minerals are much, much, much more than resources. They are a strategic imperative. And by embracing economic statecraft and pursuing this kind of deal-making, we can secure our supply chain, strengthen our economy, and enhance our national security. This is about taking control of our future and ensuring that America remains independent, sovereign, innovative, and strong. It's about creating good jobs, building resilient industries, and preserving our leadership in a rapidly changing world. And it is about choosing liberty and sovereignty over dependency. So we could make a shared resolve today while we're here to turn the tables on dependency, to build an unbreakable lattice of democratic supply chains, and to ensure that the 21st century is written not by coercion and control, but by freedom, innovation, and partnership. So I thank you very much for listening to me today and for coming to this wonderful summit. Thank you.